Hi, this is Micah with VEX Robotics Club, and today I'm going to be demonstrating some assembly modeling in Autodesk Fusion. So first, let's go into the miscellaneous and training folders, and go into the folder with your name. If you don't have a folder with your name already, create one. First, I'm going to demonstrate how you could make just a simple wheel assembly like this that has a wheel joined with a gear as well. So let's create a new design, and first let's insert a component. So we're going to take from the purchased motion parts, wheels, and then this first wheel, which is a 2.75 inch wheel. And then we're going to unground this from parent, and then assemble and as built-in joint. So that's gonna act like kind of like that ground, but it's a joint to the parent assembly. It's gonna show that joint there. Usually I hide the relationships just because it doesn't provide any additional information, or it's not really helpful for those to be shown. So now I'm going to insert the gear that's gonna go on that wheel. So let's find the gears in purchase motion parts, and let's do a 48 tooth gear and insert that into our design. Now here I'm quickly going to show we can't just put the gear onto the wheel directly, because the teeth of the gear are going to interfere with the omni rollers. So we're going to have to pull this gear away about a 1/4 inch. So let's insert some 1/4 inch spacers into this assembly. So I'm gonna go find the spacers and insert a 1/4 inch spacer, this one at the bottom. To put this in the right location, I'm gonna use the align tool. So modify, align, and then line this up to one of the holes, and then you can use these to orient it into position. So this will spin it, this will flip it on the faces that you're aligning it with. So we want it like that, and now we can align this gear to that spacer, and then this is going to be flipped, and now we want to rotate that until it's in place. Okay, now we'll want some screws to go through here and a nut on the other end. And we'll also want another spacer, screw, and nut on the other side, but we're going to wait to put those in. So first, let's measure to see how long of a screw we'll need. You can do inspect and then measure, and then select the outer face of this gear here, and then the other side of the wheel, and it's 0.125 inches between there. So we'll need a little bit longer of a screw in order to have a nut on the end. So I'm going to insert a screw that's 1.5 inches long. And now I'm going to use that same modify and align tool to put this screw into place. So this is a tool you might end up using frequently. So what I recommend is going down to the 3 dots here and then change the keyboard shortcut, and I have mine set as Shift A. So if you just click in there and then click Shift A, that'll set the keyboard shortcut. Okay, now we can use Shift A to line this piece into the right place in the assembly. Okay, and now we need a fastener on the end there. So let's go into the fasteners, nuts, and we'll do it thin nylock here. Okay, now same thing, using the modify and align tool to get this into place. And now we have these 3 components that we're going to copy over to the other side. So you can select them and right click, do move copy, or you can also just press M. So now I'm going to create a copy as I move this. Because I selected the nut first, the axis is a bit skewed. That's totally fine. We can just turn it 30 degrees. And then we can pull this over by 1 inch because VEX spacing is in half-inch increments, so that makes it easy. So here we have the other screw spaced out by 1 inch. Okay, so the last thing we need in this assembly is an insert. So I'm going to put this round, shallow insert in here. And let's figure out how to position this. So there's a couple ways to do this. It's a little bit difficult because you can't necessarily grab any round hole on here. So one way is lining up each of the faces to the faces of the gear sensor portion. So I'll show that here as well. And now, lastly, I can take this face and align it to the outer surface of the gear. So that insert is in place now. I'm going to put another one of these in for the other side. So for this insert, I'm going to take advantage of a different method. So I'm going to align this insert to another hole on that wheel and take advantage of the VEX spacing being only in half-inch increments, and then I move this half an inch down, and now that's in the correct position. So now that all these components are in position, we don't want them to go anywhere. So we're going to assemble a rigid group and capture the position of all the parts. And then we're going to include all child components and hit OK. And now this rigid group has all of these parts all together. And so if we suppress that initial joint we put in, you can see that these move as one assembly. Okay, then we're going to save that and save it into our training folder. And now what should we name it? Well, this is a wheel assembly, so 0 for assembly code, and then WHL for wheel, and then whatever series number comes next. So I'm going to do WHL-0003, and then it's 2.75 inches, so I'll add that additional specification. Now I'm going to save it in that location. Thanks for joining me for this introductory tutorial for assembly modeling from VEX Robotics, and there will be more complex modeling tutorials to come.